Chapter 21, The Lodestone. Good sir, milady, how many of you in your party tonight? The three young Trace Society members had hoped to get to work immediately cracking the mystery of the Lodestone, but Glob had absolutely insisted that they join the Medieval Days restaurant that evening. As it turns out, he had more than sufficient number of coupons stashed in his pocket to cover dinner for a dozen people. And a good thing too, because they were 6 nut table regulars sitting at a round table at Medieval Days, one of the roundest tables, I should say. Cass, Max, Ernest, Yoji, Benjamin, Glob, and Danielle, not Danielle, who had happily been so happy to hear the news of Glob's safe return that he begged his father to take him to dinner. 7 you count Max Ernest's baby brother PC, but since he's too young to sit in a high chair, the serving wench said not to count him. And 11 if you count 4 parents, chaperones, who it was agreed by all would sit at their own table farther away from the jousting stage, and all the mayhem, and who of course were not nut table regulars in the first place. Needless to say, Medieval's Day was not the easiest place to concentrate. The combination of clattering dishes, screaming children, and jousting knights made it difficult to hold a conversation, let alone to study a 500-year-old object for clues about an ancient Egyptian secret. Not that they could have spoken very freely with Glob and Danielle, not Danielle, present. Anyway, none of that stopped Max Ernest from surreptitiously examining the lodestone under the table. Alas, he was no more able to find a secret message written on it than Lord Pharaoh had been. When PC started grabbing the lodestone, Max Ernest gave up and passed it under the table to Cass, silently communicating with her that they would examine it again later. Okay, she tried silently to communicate back, but remembered we have to return the lodestone to Miss Johnson tomorrow. We don't have very much time. In the end, the tired kids had little choice but to focus on the food and entertainment. The hamburger, everybody agreed, was terrible, although Glob wolfed it down anyway. Just in case the management was looking for the joust, it was vastly inferior to what they had seen earlier in the day. Yoji, Glob asserted, would have annihilated all those so-called knights at the restaurant. Thanks, bro, said Yoji, figuring anybody helped him catch Lord Pharaoh, even unwittingly deserved his bro status. By the way, Cass, Glob has some really good ideas about marketing your trail mix, said Max Ernest, perhaps thinking the same thing. Oh, that's great, said Cass, with a noble lack of enthusiasm. Danielle smiled at her from behind his dreadlocks. Don't worry, he seemed to be saying. Glob will be on to his next scheme tomorrow, and will forget all about your trail mix. Late that night, Max Ernest called Cass to tell her he'd had an inspiration and that he was on his way to her house with PC in tow. One advantage of his parents' newfound total lack of interest in him was that he could come and go as he pleased. She waited by the front door so she could let Max Ernest and his baby brother in without waking her mom. When they got up to her room, Max Ernest laid PC on Cass's bed and pulled a toy out of his pocket. It consisted of a yellow cardboard rectangle laminated in plastic. It was about the size of a small book and said Harry Berry on top. In the middle was a bald, bare-faced, smiling man. The bottom was a layer of what looked like black dust. Cass looked at it, asking, "This is what you had to show me, Harry Berry?" "It's a game. It's supposed to put his hair back on him. Watch." Max Ernest removed a small metal bar slot on the side and proceed to drag it across the plastic. Black dust rose and from the bottom of the picture and settled in a ragged line under the man's nose. After hearing all about magnets from Peter and Miss Johnson, I sent away for all these magic tricks, Max Ernest explained. This one came today. Great, I think PC's about to destroy your mustache. That's the point, said Max Ernest, pulling Harry Berry out of the baby's hand. Get me a plate and scissors. When Cass returned with the requested items, Max Ernest cut the corner of the toy and pointed all the magnetic filings onto the plate. Now give me the lodestone, okay? But all this is going to do is going to fly into it. I know, that's what I want. In order to retrieve the lodestone from her backpack, Cass had to separate it from the compass, the flashlight, the Swiss Army knife, and after a moderate amount of exertion, she handed it to Max Ernest. As soon as he brought the lodestone within 3 feet of the magnetic dust, the dust started streaming through the air towards it. Within seconds, the lodestone was entirely covered. Nice, said Cass. Now it looks like a big furry bug. Patience, Watson, said Max Ernest, brushing some of the magnetic dust off the back side of the lodestone. I noticed the silver on the back of the lodestone was a little thicker than you might expect and not that heavy, so I thought, what if it was another layer inside? And guess what? I don't know if it's wood or wax or stone or what it, but whatever it is, it blocks the magnet. Grinning, Max Ernest turned the lodestone so the silver back faced Cass. How about that? Very cool, but don't call me Watson. As you know, Dr. John H. Watson is Sherlock Holmes' friend and occasional partner in deduction, as well as the narrator of the Sherlock Holmes stories. He plays his role known as second fiddle, and a role Cass would never want for herself. Most of the silver was covered with magnetic dust, but where the lodestone magnetic powder had been blocked, small letters had emerged. Cass's ears tingled as she read, "As above, so below." It was just as if the jester was right in the room with them. Thrilling as it had been, the lodestone secret message revealed by the next morning when they delivered the lodestone to the principal's office, Cass's excitement warned as after all the message was on, she already heard several times from the fortune teller. And for the jester, the meaning seemed even more obscure. Max Ernest, however, would not be deterred. It's not necessary, I suppose, to be the secret itself. It's just like a clue or a message, you said, right? For the next 24 hours or so, he devoted himself to trying to decipher the potential meaning and the premonition of the words "as above, so below." He reported back when they were the first words on the emerald tablet, supposedly the ones found in the documents of alchemy. Cass couldn't help feeling Max Ernest was looking in the wrong direction. She knew the jester, unless his interests had changed radically as he got older, he wasn't particularly interested in alchemy or anything that vastly serious. Well, he obviously knew about it, or he wouldn't have written that, said Max Ernest, slightly peeved. So, what direction do you think I should be looking in? I think is like the jester liked that kind of stuff. You like, oh yeah, what stuff is that? Asked Max Ernest. You know, magic, jokes, puns, codes, whatever. Alchemy has all that stuff. For example, I was just reading that. Oh, never mind, forget I said anything. They left it at that for the moment.